Welcome back, Mrs. Malstadt here. I'm so glad you're with me today. Readers, today we're going to take a look at figurative language. That's a figurative phrase not to be taken literally as we're reading. The reason why authors sometimes use figurative language is because it adds imagery to the writing. We can create a mental movie in our mind, and it also creates a certain feeling or mood. So the type of figurative language that we're going to look at today is called hyperbole, and that is an extreme exaggeration. So an example of a hyperbole is the phrase, "I've told you a million times." So maybe somebody at home has told you to clean your room, and maybe they've told you more than once. And so at some point, they might begin to exaggerate and use hyperbole and say, "Will you clean your room? I've told you a million times." Now, remember, that is a figurative phrase. Have they literally told you a million times? Is that actually true? No, it might feel like it because maybe they've told you a lot, but that's just a figurative phrase, and that creates a certain feeling or mood. And so if somebody's told you to do something a million times, maybe it creates kind of a silly mood. It could even create kind of an annoyed mood, depending on how it's said. So readers, today we're going to look at a poem. And as I read it, I want you to see if you can find examples of hyperbole, that extreme exaggeration to make a point, to add imagery, or to create that feeling or mood. So the poem we're reading today is called Lincoln Monument, Washington. So a monument is some type of statue or building that was built in remembrance of something. And this is written by Langston Hughes. Let's go see old Abe, sitting in the marble in the moonlight, sitting lonely in the marble in the moonlight. Quiet for 10,000 centuries, old Abe. Quiet for a million years. Quiet. And yet a voice forever against the timeless walls of time, old Abe. So readers, were you able to find any hyperbole or exaggeration in the poem? Go ahead and look at it and see if you can find one. So tell me if this is what you were thinking. I noticed that they said that he's sitting in the moonlight, quiet for 10,000 centuries, quiet for a million years. Now, do you think that that is a literal meaning? Do you think he's actually been the statue for a million years? Or do you think that that's figurative? Yeah, that is hyperbole. There's no way that the statue was there for a million years. And so that is an exaggeration. And to give you some background information, this statue or this monument was built in 1922. So it definitely has not been a million years since the statue was built. But why do you think the author would use hyperbole here? What are they trying to do for us, the reader? So they're trying to show us that even though he is no longer with us, his legacy lives on. And even though he's sitting quiet, we can still look to this statue to think about our history and our past, and to let that guide us as we move forward into the future. Do you see any other examples of hyperbole? See if you can find any. So another example that I found, it says, "And yet a voice forever." And so in this case, again, I think that this is figurative language. I don't think that his voice literally is going to go on forever, but I think that it's a point that the author is making that his influence can still be with us for a long time, and so it seems like forever. So readers, as you're reading your texts today, I encourage you to think about any figurative language that you might come across. And as you come across figurative language, remember that that's a phrase not to be taken literally. It adds imagery to what you're reading, and it can also create a certain feeling or mood, or even make a point. So as you go off today, you might find some examples of hyperbole or extreme exaggeration, or possibly some other figurative language that paints that picture in your mind. So I invite you to give that a try today.